We come on. It is Monday night. Wagwan people. What are we saying? Are we doing good? Are we feeling good? I know the weather hasn't been too ship shape, but we had a bit of sunshine. I'm feeling the vibes. And tonight, oh my days, we have got the formidable, the unbelievable, the leaving us for 10 days, Klaudia Fior. Oh my days. That's what happens when you read people's names. You pronounce them wrong. I should always just work off my mind. Anyway, oh man, did you guys have a good weekend? I had a not bad one. I've been a little bit ill. I've got a bit of a cough, so I apologize if that affects the show tonight. I'm just putting the disclaimer out there. No Coca-Cola, though, keeping it on the Ronaldo vibes. Man's got the water, you get me? Real talk. Anyway, listen, make sure you guys do subscribe, hit the like button, press the share button. You know what it is, all of that stuff, because independent media is here to bring you the truth. And make sure you head over to bywire.news. Make sure you've got it saved in your bookmarks. Hit the donate button if you can. And do not forget that we are the revolutionary democratic platform where you can read news that you know you can trust. Trust me, you can trust me, so trust Bywire. Don't know. Anyway, listen. Just for the next half an hour, please do refrain from opening any other apps or programs on your device that you are watching this. Please do stick with us. And for the next half hour, I will be taking you through some of the weekend's highlights, and our very own Klaudia, as mentioned, will be bringing you the latest in today's independent media. Now, I've got a bit of a serious start to today's show. There's an issue that is close to our hearts on the show, and I want to talk about it. In a country where we spend billions on railways that aren't going to be accessible or even useful to most of the nation, in a country where we spend millions on renovating royal palaces that house massive millionaire benefit sheets. Come at me, Gammon. I know you love it when I talk about the royals. Our government, they've got the ability to dump hundreds of thousands of pounds at a time into pockets of their friends under the guise of contracts for jobs that their friends have no experience in doing. And there is the billions set aside every year for war. I have no problem with paying soldiers what they deserve. I think we should even pay veterans a wage after they've left, you know, with free access to mental health support, even accommodation, and back to work training. But why on earth we're still keeping money aside and spending money on nuclear weapons and warships, I do not know. Especially while people go hungry in this country. Children going hungry and the government have been doing nothing about it. Liverpool West Derby MP Ian Byrne and his friend Dave Kelly, locally known as a pair of working class heroes, have come together to take on this issue. Now, Dave was on the show at the beginning of the month talking about the fan supporting food bank project, which to date has helped feed thousands of people across Merseyside. And the project has been mirrored outside football grounds across the UK. If you're not donating to a food bank outside your football ground, what are you doing, man? Contact the team and get yourself one of them things set up, because it's the way things need to be right now until we can get rid of certain people. Now, their efforts include a recent petition to make the right to food enshrined in law, gaining 53,000 signatures. And the campaign has received the backing of the Daily Mirror, Human Rights Watch, Marcus Rashford, trade unions, charities, faith leaders, and many, many businesses and members of the public. Even the Metro Mayors Andy Burnham and Steve Rotherham both included the issue in their election manifestos earlier this year. Leaders have written to Henry Dimbleby, chair of the National Food Strategy Team, ahead of its report to government next month, urging him to include the right to food in their findings. An early day motion has been tabled by Ian Byrne MP and has been supported so far by 59 cross-party MPs. So what can you do about it? Obviously, we asked you guys to sign the petition not long ago. But we need you now to go online and search for who your MP is. If you know who they are, search for their contact details and email them. Email them about this early day motion. Ask them if they've signed the early day motion. And if not, make sure they do sign it. And also ask them if they're going to be voting for the right to food to be enshrined in law. Tell them why you think they should. Then tweet them, post on their Facebook. Find them on LinkedIn. Find them anywhere you can and make sure they are supporting this campaign to make the right to food enshrined in law. It is amazing that in this country, after all of those millions and billions of pounds that I've spoken about being spent on all kinds of things, that it is not illegal for children to go hungry. The NHS was not created because of rich politicians in London. It was the result of workers coming together and pushing for it and organizing around the issue, and then taking it to Parliament and forcing it through the government. This is your moment, people. Make the right to food become law. For more information, head to Ian Burns' Twitter or search S Food Banks on Twitter. There is loads of information there. Sometimes you just got to start the week on a serious one. Now, over to some non-serious people. I mentioned them before. It's this government. This one makes me laugh, right? See, look, it's hit the cough and everything, like. But you can just imagine the meeting, right? So we've left the EU. You're in number 10 Downing Street. There's Boris and some others there, and they're like, we've left the EU. We need to send a message to the world that Britain is great again. Someone's like, isn't that the same slogan as Trump? And he's like, exactly. You can see where this is going. Someone shouts out, war. Let's go to war. That will show everyone we're great. And then there's the advisors jumping in like, this probably isn't a good idea during the middle of a pandemic. I know. Let's sail our biggest ship, our warship, into Asian waters, because Britain being great is basically Britain trying to scare brown people, right? That's how Britain does great, right? Anyway, Open Democracy have covered the naval posturing of the HMS Queen Elizabeth on a round trip to Japan. So he's going to Japan and then coming back. I don't even know how much money that will cost in fuel and wages and all of the rest. Don't worry about the starving kids while we have warships to float around the world and scare brown people for absolutely no reason. Big up Paul Rogers for covering this piece and giving a more realistic, not elastic, view of Boris's post-Brexit Britain. And like I said before, it's amazing that these are the things that the people in power think that we need to make this country great. Feeding kids, housing the homeless, all of that doesn't matter to these guys. Now then. Yes, it's our good eggs over in Sheffield. Now then, covering some really good news from Britain. This is good news. This is what we should be talking about when we say Britain is being great. Now, this is the kind of stuff I think that we should see every day in every newspaper all over the place. Philippa Watt's latest piece, titled An Opportunity to Celebrate What Makes Us Unique. An online exhibition of artwork from adults with learning disabilities and autism from around the world. 1,000 pieces of artwork have been shortlisted down to just 34 and judged by international artists and also some other peers from the autistic and learning difficulty community. And I just think it's fantastic. I've had a look through the article. The artwork is beautiful, and I've been to like some art exhibitions. It's a good date. First date is always good at an art gallery. I love it. Trust me. But sometimes the artwork, I'm like, I don't get it. But these ones, I was like, raw. I feel that, And I'm not really an arty guy. Like, I like music, but paint, not my thing really. But I really enjoyed this one. I got down with it, and it's a beautiful display of talent. I would be proud to have them displayed in, forget my local town, in my house. Like, I was thinking, how can I buy that one? Anyway, Philippa has taken the time to have a look at some of the winning work, which were displayed in Rotherham over the weekend. Head over to the Now Then magazine website for an exclusive chance to see some of the amazing art, as it will not be on display after today. Now over to our friends at Union News, who have been at the People's Assembly March for a New Future this weekend. Thousands took to the streets and Unite General Secretary hopeful, currently the Assistant General Secretary, Steve Turner, who has recently won the backing of popular left-wing former candidate Howard Beckett, making him now one of two left candidates in the race, used his time on stage as an opportunity to call for the COVID inquiry to be brought forward. He is also calling on the Labour Party to find its radical voice, and fast. I've got to give big props to the guy for doing this. Number one, the COVID inquiry will get kicked into the long grass. If it doesn't, it will just be a farce like the inquiry into institutional racism in Britain. It is what it is, but we know the truth. And I think Steve Turner is spot on for calling the government out on this and also calling the Labour Party out on this. Because let's be honest about it, the Labour Party have been quiet. And the news never, the mainstream media anyway, they never cover what the smaller parties have to say. And it seems like Keith and his team, I don't know, they seem to spend a lot of time taking photos in the pub, but they never seem to actually spend any time putting any policies out there. And I just think that no matter who the opposition is, whether it's the Tories or Labour, generally they shouldn't be agreeing with the government or letting the government get away with the stuff that we cover on this show. How annoyed can you not be, or can you be, after the last 15 shows we've done? Every night there's been a story about government corruption. Open Democracy, Byline Times, The Canary, all of our partners are covering different forms of corruption that have come up from this government, and we're not seeing any action taken from it. Big up Union News, big up Tim Lazard for covering this, because you ain't seeing this in the mainstream media, and we should be hearing more of people in positions of power calling out the government and demanding that the Labour Party get themselves into action. I've got to big up the People's Assembly Against Austerity for the work they're doing as well. It was fantastic to have Ramona on the show last week. And as mentioned, they'll be in Manchester in September or October with their festival outside the Tory conference, which we'll be covering. Now, here on Bywire News, we obviously love to promote good independent news and independent media. And on the Bywire today, picking out some of the top stories from independent news today is our good friend and my new best mate, Klaudia Fior. How's it going? What's good? Are we feeling good?
Yeah, we're feeling good, and we're ready to discuss independent media.
Don't know. Come on. Wait, the nails are fleeky, man. Show me them. Ooh, we should have a bit of the show just for your nails, fam.
Honestly,
I got a question though.
Segment, yeah.
You have some that have points on them, yeah, and then some that are straight. Like, oh, is it the middle ones?
No, they're these ones.
My G, come on.
Can't be doing that.
Why'd you do flat and pointed? Is it a thing or is it just a thing?
I don't know. It's just if I ever need a pointy nail, because obviously, like, people think that these nails are quite sharp, but they're actually not. They're blunt because it's acrylic. So if you ever need a pointy nail, like if I need to pop a spot or something, I need a pointy nail.
Right. I hear you. I thought it was just for picking your boogers, but
no.
Independent news. What's in the independent news today, Klaudia?
So first up, we have got the Canary. The BBC just shut down the truth about Boris Johnson's lies by Steve Topple. So I picked this story because I feel like when the public, a lot of the time, not in independent media outlets, but when the public criticize mainstream media, they often don't include the BBC in that because of its position as a public service broadcaster. But quite frankly, the BBC is just as complicit in promoting the government's lies as other mainstream media outlets are. Just because it doesn't have commercials on it, or that it isn't a commercial broadcaster, doesn't mean that it's not just as bad. So yeah, I've picked this story, and it's also the fact that the story speaks about how a Labour Party member appeared on a BBC show, a politics live show. I forgot which one it was, and they basically called out Boris Johnson for being a liar and got shut down by the presenter. Now, I think you can compare that to the amount of times that Tory ministers have gone onto the Andrew Marr show on the BBC and not literally just gotten as little as a slap on the wrist, or not even being scrutinized about all of the corruption that's going on, or all the cronyism, all the COVID contracts that they've dished out. So it's just double standards, really. It's just kind of proves that the mainstream media acts as a mouthpiece for the government rather than holding them to power to account. So
yeah, 100%. I really enjoyed last week. We had Debs from the BBC and Beyond campaign, a media reform coalition, as you know, and I just thought she explained so perfectly how the BBC should be accountable for what they do, but also how we can do more to actually start to create better public media. Because although the BBC is, public media, at the end of the day, it's one format. There are so many more formats out there and so many more ideas out there in how we can create public media to avoid these situations. We've seen the graphs that are done. I think it was Oxford University. I might be wrong. They did a graph that showed the number of positive stories for one party, the Tories, and then positive stories for Labour, another way round during the 2015, 2017, and then 2019 elections. And it's like the gap just got bigger and bigger and bigger. So the more...
I think I've seen the graph that you're speaking of. I think I've referred to it before. But yeah, no, it's literally just the crazy double standard. And I think another thing that's really worthwhile pointing out in this article is it makes reference to Peter if I say his surname wrong, I really apologize.
Stefanovic.
There you go. Stefanovic's viral video that's now got 24 million views of literally lie after lie from Boris Johnson's mouth being basically held accountable. It's Boris Johnson constantly lying and then Peter calling out his lies with actual facts. And it has 24 million views. People have countless times tagged the BBC in the video and they are still to report on it. But yet you've got a BBC presenter basically shutting down a Labour Party member just because they called out Boris Johnson for something that he is very openly doing, and we all know that.
Although, to be fair, like, aren't Labour MPs meant to be supporting the government right now? Isn't that Keith's stance in it?
Yeah, maybe that's probably why. You know what? They were like, "This is not your lane. You need to stay in your lane, and this is not it."
Maybe they got a little memo from Keith. Get that one into line, please. We're cops now. What else is going on in the independent media world today, Klaudia?
So secondly, we've got a story from Dorset Eye. It says Johnson and his ministers simply do not get the majority of the UK public. They are so out of touch. And quite frankly, I think the headline just sums up everything you need to know. It's, again, our government just being not with it whatsoever. But it basically makes reference to the fact that Matt Hancock has resigned. And rather than actually being told to go away by Boris Johnson So it's basically about the fact that loads of people are quite upset at the fact that, yes, Matt Hancock has resigned, but one, it's too late, and two, he should have been fired rather than resigned himself. And quite frankly, I think the reason for him resigning is quite questionable because it's a cheating affair an affair made him resign. But there's so many things that he has done that are so much higher up the scale in the impact it had on the public. An affair is an affair, whatever. But he literally mishandled so many COVID contracts throughout the pandemic, broke so many other lockdown rules. And this is the thing that's made him feel bad and decide to resign. And quite frankly, I think it's a bit funny that the whole, actually, I'll get onto this on the next story. I'm not going to mention it now.
I got a question for you. Yeah. So that video.
Yeah.
It was a setup, right? Do you not think this whole thing is just...
Right, this is what I was going to say on the next story.
Let's go to the next story. Come, let's do it.
Okay, right. Okay, so the next story is... Big
up Dorset Idaho. Love them guys. So big up them lot. Carry on with the next one. Go on.
Next story is Hancock plans to hide health data grab from Parliament scrutiny by Byline Times. So my thing is the data grab was literally still being spoken about. People were still unsure about what's going on with this whole data grab. Half the public didn't even know that our data is being transferred over because not a single NHS organization released a press release about this. Even the NHS app didn't release a press release. So no one was aware unless you found out through social media or someone on WhatsApp sending you a broadcast message being like, Hancock's taking our data, opt out now. So I think that the fact that this whole cheating scandal has come so shortly after he has pulled this data grab is quite frankly a bit, what's the word I'm looking for? A coincidence, a very unusual coincidence. It doesn't, quite frankly, if for people who have seen the video, unless that man is that stiff and has no Shazam to him whatsoever, and that is how he goes about his romance.
He needs some Mambo number 5.
I don't know what was going on. He just stood there okay, this is what I have to do. So it just, I'm not going to say it's a government setup because it might be a bit far-fetched to say that, but I'm
going to be far-fetched.
I think that maybe not the situation that's happened because we've all seen the video where he's also stood there with a reporter just staring in her face. He is just a very awkward.
No, she was a candidate, That's she was a candidate in Warrington, bruv. Oh, man.
And he's just a very, very awkward person. So I feel like the video might have not necessarily been a setup, but the way the video got out, even now they're going to be investigating about how the video got out, because that isn't something that's available to the public or to the press. It's the CCTV footage. Someone has taken it and leaked it to the press. So that part of it, I feel like, yeah, that might have been used as a distracting tactic from everything that's going on, and also as a scapegoat to have a reason to fire Hancock. Because quite frankly, if we're being honest, if Boris Johnson turned around and was like, I'm firing Hancock for mishandling COVID, people just turn around and be like, but you did the same thing, so resign. Or do you know what I mean? Just get out.
Real talk. Yeah.
So quite frankly, if he pulls it on like, oh, I'm doing it because this, do you know what I mean? No one can turn around and be like, we've got footage of you cheating. Well, quite frankly, they probably do. But the man's got too much power for it to get out. But if reverting it a bit back to the article, I think what absolutely stood out to me from this piece was the fact that it said that the what is it called? Data Saves Lives. So that's his new data scheme. The Data Saves Lives legislation was implemented using statutory legislation, which is like a legislation that has hardly any scrutiny from government. They hardly ever debate it. And then it actually went on to say that during COVID, 420 different laws were implemented as part. That in itself is mad. Within what COVID's been about for a year and a bit, 425 different laws.
Mad.
And 398 of them were implemented under statutory legislation, which meant that they hardly had any scrutiny to them whatsoever. So they just literally got passed. Everyone, yes, yep, and they became law. So it's crazy, really.
I think I'm gonna go far-fetched, right? I think the whole thing was set up, right? He might be having an affair, like anyway, like the whole, photos of her moving out. So much has happened in the last like 5-10 years of this government, like that. I don't see how you can be in this government and not let that, not have control over that situation. So we know that Tory, like the whips and the people on the 1952 committee or whatever it is, they have all weird committees where they go to clubs and get naked and eat biscuits. But like on a level, these guys, they are so messed up, man. They hold things on each other to make them vote for stuff. So it's like, I know what you did with that waiter, the young boy the other day, so make sure you'll be voting for this bill on Wednesday. And it's like, oh, I don't want that to get out. Like, so that surely would have happened to Hancock. Yeah.
No, but see, that's what I mean. That's what I'm saying. I think the release of the video is definitely a setup. The fact that it's like how they got it and how they released it, definitely a setup. But the affair in itself, I feel like he might have just actually been having an affair.
Yeah. I don't ever doubt that any of them are not having affairs or got their genitals in places they shouldn't be, like pigs.
Speaking of, actually, didn't I say Boris Johnson, no affair? Jennifer Curry, the woman that he apparently had a business deal with and gave her loads of money to, they apparently had an affair. So just no footage.
That's what I'm saying. Well, who knows if there's footage? I tell you who knows, the Tory whips. That's who know. Trust me. Like, but this is the thing with these guys. Is like, but I do feel like, yeah, he might have been having the affair, but I feel like they told it. Why was there a camera facing the? So I've done stuff in like,
know the camera was there.
Like, Laura said that as well in the comments. Actually, how did he forget he had CCTV? He remembered to look out the door. Yeah, everyone's gone. Come on over. Like, but. Oh, there's a camera staring at me. And the thing is, right, yeah, like I said before, everyone's having affairs in Parliament. We've heard all the Me Too stories that have come out of the House of Commons and all of that, right? But it's rare that you ever see footage of these things happening in Parliament. Clearly, they know where the security is and how not to get caught and all that stuff.
Yeah.
He might have been having an affair. Someone found out about it and they said, well, we need you to do something in front of a camera.
Yeah. So, like I said, the timing of it with the whole Data Saves Lives.
Yep.
Thing, it doesn't add up, because everyone who obviously just kind of follows politics in the sense of whatever's trending, they're not into it like that. They've gone from, oh my God, data grab, to, oh my God, he's cheating. So it is just like, do you know what I mean? It's perfect to follow. It's a very easy distraction timeline to just go, about the fact that they've taken our data. Because I'm sure loads of people have didn't realize that they could have opted out, and don't realize that the date to opt out now is gone and you can't. So, but another thing about the whole data grab as well is the fact that they're trying to almost spin it and say that, like, with the new legislation, it's going to give people access to be able to access their data from their GP at any given time. You can already do that.
Mm-hmm.
You email your GP and be like, I just feel like people. So what they're doing is they know that people aren't aware that they can get their data. So they're being like, oh yeah, now you're going to be able to get your data, but you were always able to do that. So, but yeah, I think the main takeaway point from this is the fact that, yeah, I feel like it was just a distraction tactic. Whether it was, however it came about, however it got out, it worked in the way that they wanted it to work, and it's taken people's attention from what's really important.
Yeah, most definitely. Like, you know, the important issue is about the data. You're spot on. And the fact that, excuse me, the fact that all of that silliness came about over the weekend definitely worked in their favor. I think the big thing, which I like what Bywire are doing here, is, you know, is actually educating people a little bit in their article, talking about, you know, what exactly has gone on and what this means for people. And I think what the big signal for anyone who's concerned about their data now, and, you know, what we need to educate people on really, is how conscious they need to be of this stuff going forward. What does this mean? What does it look like? You know, what are they going to be able to do with your data? And moreover, who's going to be accessing that data? Because at the end of the day, if Facebook finds out that you happen to have, I don't know, amoxicillin, I don't know what that is, it's just a medicine that come up in my head. If they know that you have that once a week, and there's a company that are selling it with a special discount, and that company advertised through Facebook, and then they're putting it in your face, private healthcare, knowing exactly what you need, all this kind of stuff. If they can put that together, because what Facebook already know is that your phones listen to what you're doing, and they don't listen to what you're doing so they spy on you. They listen to what you're doing so they can learn your behaviors. Now, if they know that, you know, every night at 5 o'clock you turn on the kettle, or you talk about turning on the kettle at a certain time every day because it hears it, it knows it, you post about it, all of that stuff, and now they know your medical information. Imagine how much information these companies are getting. Now, I don't think it's a case where people need to be scared in that, oh, they're spying on, because that, you know, there are, well, it depends what happens with the rest of the Brexit situation, but there are EU laws in place that are still in law here in Britain that protect your data to an extent. And Americans hate those laws because it means that they have to change everything from America to here when they're building these apps and stuff. But the issue going forward is that the amount that they can start to influence people, and that's where it is scary, because if they know your behaviors, they know, like I said, you take this tablet this amount a week, you have a cup of tea every day at 5 o'clock, you also like these programs on TV, and they know that they have a candidate that they want to get elected in the next election, they start to look at how many people in your area have matching behaviors, or maybe what they could do to bring you into the similar behaviors of other people. And then they do that on a bigger scale. So not just in your area, you know, your constituency, your borough, and even bigger, your region, you know, northwest, northeast. And then they do it nationwide, where they start to massively influence people using their own behaviors to encourage them to want to vote for things that maybe aren't in their best interests. A bit like when, you know, the carrot in front of the donkey, or the turkey voting for Christmas. That's the kind of place we're getting to. And I am putting it in the most simplistic terms because that's literally how I understand these things. I have to simplify it to the most simple way possible. And if they can do this through the device that we hold in our hands all day, like my phone's there, do you know what I mean? It's so close to me. My phone never leaves my hand really, or my pockets. Most people are in that same position, and if their devices are able to be used to influence them on what they're going to vote for, or what they might be choosing to buy in the shops, this is where it gets dangerous and it gets scary. And this government are literally buying into it. Well, actually, they're selling into it because they're making the money. They're selling the data, really, aren't they? and that's the state where we're at. So massive big ups to Byline for covering this. I think it's David Hench, isn't it? Hench, is it Hench or Hank? I can't read it from here.
Let me
Hank.
get it up.
There we go, David Henk. Yeah, so big up David Henk for covering that one. I'm sure there's going to be more on that. Obviously, Open Democracy covers some of this stuff too, and Declassified have been pretty good at covering a lot of the government tomfoolery over recent weeks. So big up the independent media, fam. Klaudia, you're going to be leaving us for a bit, so you won't be back next week, will you?
No, I won't, unless you really want me to. I might try.
Is it? Yeah, would you do it from the beach? Yeah. Go on, fam. Only if you want to. Bring tequila though, yeah, because you know our relationship with tequila is a thing. I learned something.
Love and hate relationship.
I learned something about you. You do something that I do. You film whenever you have a shot.
Oh, whenever I have a tequila shot, it has to happen. It's a memory. Everyone's doing it. Yeah, but
I don't just film tequila shots. I film every shot.
No, I'm pretty sure I do too, but I feel like I mainly get tequila shots, so it's just like, yeah. But my friends get so annoyed because I'm like, I put the camera and I'm like, everyone. It's like shots. Maybe that sound like an alcoholic.
Maybe at the end of every Monday night show, we should have a tequila shot.
Oh my God.
Yeah, when you come up to Liverpool, we're having rosé tequila. That is a vibe. It is a thing.
Oh, when you come down here, we're having chili mango tequila.
Whee! Come on. And on that note, Klaudia, you tell the people what they need to do before we end the show.
Right. So what you need to do is like, comment, hit that subscribe button. Make sure you follow us on social media at Bywire_news on everything, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. See you next week. Dan will see you tomorrow. I will see you next week at 9 o'clock. Peace out.